Amberfort or Amer Fort is located in a town called Amer, which is 11 kilometers away from Jaipur and is the capital of Rajasthan in India. This magnificent fort was built in 1592 by Maharaja Man Singh, the original architect and an army commander, although newer additions were made by Sawai Jai Singh. Amer Fort stands tall on a hill and is one of the most popular attractions in Jaipur. There is an imaginative and inventive style to this fort and comprises a large bulwark, cobbled pathway, and series of gates. The fort was created using marble and red sandstone and is a splendid palace that is set on 4 levels featuring a courtyard on each level. The main source of water for the palace is Maharaja Lake, which overlooks the fort. The architectural style of Amer Fort was considerably influenced by Mughal architecture. The Amberfort is often referred to as Amer Palace and was the living quarters of the families of the Rajput Maharajas. As one of the most recognized forts in India, Amer Fort remains on top of Jaipur's most visited tourist attractions. Travelers can take a bus that frequently departs from Hawa Mahal in Jaipur to get to Amer town, or an auto rickshaw or even a taxi. Amberfort is open to visitors from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. To reach the top of the fort, travelers can go by jeep, take a golf cart, walk uphill, or even go in their own vehicle. This is a very busy spot during peak season, so be ready for large crowds. If you wish to remain at the fort after the closing time, you will see that it is expressively brightened until 9:15 at night. You can visit a fine dining restaurant inside the fort and feast on delicious and authentic Indian cuisine. Closer to Maharaja Lake, towards the end of the fort, there are sound and light shows depicting the history of this impressive place. The shows are featured in both English and Hindi language. The tourist season is between October and February, while the summer season is from March to April and the monsoon will be from May to September. So you can plan your travels accordingly when you visit Amer Fort in Jaipur. There is a primary courtyard at the entrance of Amberfort, which is known as Jaleb Chowk. As ancient stories go, the king's soldiers congregated and flaunted themselves at this spot. There's a sun gate and a moon gate that leads to this stately courtyard. You can also visit the Shila Devi temple, which is to the right of the courtyard. The temple opens at 6 a.m. and closes at 10:30 a.m. and once again opens at 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. As ancient tales go, one of the rituals was a sacrifice made to the goddess Kali. According to legends, goddess Kali accepted human hands before she was coaxed into accepting goats. Amberfort is more palatial than an actual fortress in its physical structure and comprises a unique style that reflects Hindu and Muslim elements. As you enter into this lavish palace, you can walk from one courtyard to the next, which will then lead to grand chambers, terraces, gardens, and temples. There's a hall named Diwani-i-Am, which was used for public audiences. From there on, enter the charming Ganesh Bowl and make your way to the private interiors of the fort. Be dazzled by an ornamental garden known as the Diwani-i-Khas, with its gleaming hall of mirrors. The walls of this garden are covered in slivers of mirrors and stained glass. The beauty of this Belgian glass is an amazing treasure of Amer Fort and is simply breathtaking to visitors. The room was specially designed for the Maharani, who would gaze at the stars and fall asleep out in the open air. At night, when the room is lit by candles, it reflects a multitude of stars across the walls and ceilings. The Hall of Victory, referred to as the Jal Mandir, is another interior room in the fort. The room is made of carved marble panels and mirrored ceilings. There is a sweeping view of the fort from this particular room. The Zenana, the women's quarters, is in the oldest section of the fort. There is a pavilion in the midpoint of this portion, and the wives' rooms were built along with the courtyard. There is a rich history that accompanies Amer Fort. When the Rajputs ruled the palace, it was heavily guarded by the king's soldiers. Many of their victories were celebrated in the courtyard. Women of that time often viewed these celebrations through their windows. Notable royals entered through the sun gate into the spectacular pillared hall. Amer Fort walls are adorned in splendid paintings and lined with precious stones and mirrors. Maharaja Lake overlooks the fort, giving it a glorious and grand reflection of Amer Palace. As it stands today, the fort is one of the oldest structures in the city. The exit road from the palace leads to Amer town. The fort was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2000. 2013. The Amer Development and Management Authority has spent millions of rupees to safeguard and protect this treasured monument from external threats and damages. Amer Fort is majestic and well worth your time, making it an incredible travel stop in your journey to Jaipur, India.